Честь покутута Krista Krenko. Jak Oscar.
Yes, I bet you have.
How's it rolling, Rebels? Welcome back to the Cantina Corner, where we discuss all things Star Wars and sci-fi. And today, we're going to talk about Star Wars, but more specifically, we're going to talk about Star Wars characters and why we like them, why we relate to them, why they're so endearing throughout time, and maybe in the end, you can figure out which Star Wars character you're mostly like, which one you like the most, which one you relate to the most. So here in the Cantina Corner, as we know, we always got to have a little drink of something before we talk. I'm having a little classic DC always goes down nicely. Now, before we begin, please, by all means, like, share, subscribe to this channel. We'd really appreciate all the help. Now, let's begin. Let's talk about Luke Skywalker. Now, the reason why I think Luke Skywalker is one of the greatest heroes of all time, whether it be in print, video games, movies, television, just of all time, is because he is pretty much the perfect hero. Think about it. He starts off as sort of this naive farm boy, lives a very boring, mundane, routine life, has really no meaning or purpose in life, just aches to do something with his life, to go somewhere, just to leave home, leave the nest, just do something. And of course, he has a shadow hanging over himself with his father. He has no idea who he is and what he stood for and what he did. And of course, then comes this call to adventure. So I think he's someone that we can all relate to. I think everyone deep down can relate to Luke Skywalker a little bit. Maybe we're not all as, whiny or naive, but I think we all feel trapped. We all feel like we're stuck in some routine and we live a meaningless, boring life, and we feel like we're hoping that there's some call to a higher purpose that's going to come along and just sort of thrust us into this great adventure. And we're always looking for purpose. But I also feel like one thing we love about Luke Skywalker is because he has this struggle to either, at first, we all think it's to avenge his father's death, and of course we then find out that Vader actually is his father, and of course Vader is, evil, and he himself is dealing with all this conflict, and Luke even says to him in Return of the Jedi, I feel the good in you, just let go of your hate, I feel the good, I feel the conflict. I think everyone can relate to that, because I think at one time or another, we've all loved and cared for someone who had a problem or was going down a dark path or just wasn't really being themselves anymore, or they had changed for probably not for the better, and we all felt the need to try to save them or help them or fix them. I think we can all relate to that, and I think that's why Luke is such a relatable character and why we like him so much. And I think that's why for a lot of people they just could not like what happened to Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. It was just such a radical change, and it felt like Luke was turning his back on his journey and forgetting everything that he had learned. It's almost like his entire journey was meaningless because he was so radical and so different. But we'll leave that to another video. I'm going to do another video in the future about why I think there's a distinct problem with The Last Jedi and that's rendition of Luke Skywalker. Okay, now Han Solo. I think the reason why we all love Han Solo is because he is pretty much who we all really want to be. He's arrogant, he's stubborn, he's independent, he does things his own way, he's got his own really cool ship with his cool sidekick who's pretty much like a giant pet dog. I think we all want to be Han Solo, and maybe some of us actually are kind of Han Solo. That's why we relate to him so much. Either we are him or we want to be him. But he's a rogue. He does whatever he wants. He does it his way, doesn't apologize, doesn't explain himself, he just does what he wants. And I think that's why we love him so much. Now, but here's the thing, though. Han learns to stop thinking about himself so much and learn to care about other people, be it Leia, because he falls in love, and to fight for the great cause. And I think once in a while we have to be reminded that, it's not all just about us. It's good to be an individual, and it's good to think about yourself and to do things for yourself, but once in a while you got to realize there's somebody else in your life. Be it a loved one, be it a friend. And Han is extremely loyal. I mean, think about it. He comes back and saves Luke at the Death Star. That's a good friend. And that's a guy who, even though he thinks for himself, he understands principle. And you gotta look out for your friends. So I think we can all relate to that. And of course, one thing we look at Princess Leia. Now, Princess Leia originally starts off as sort of just like a plot device, okay? But she eventually becomes her own character. And if you look at her, she is tough as nails. I think that's why a lot of women like her, and a lot of guys like her too, is because, she's the typical princess, she has to be saved, but she can take care of herself. You look at her, she's taking Luke's blaster and she's blasting everybody and she's going to save herself and take charge. She even says someone has to save her skins. You know, she's not your typical damsel in distress. I think that's why people really like her. She's tough. And you look at Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, she is so focused on getting what she wants and fighting for this great cause. And that's something we can all appreciate, is someone who fights for something they believe in and fights for that great cause. But even still, at a certain point, I think we all kind of relate to this, is that eventually she has to learn to, you know, open up about her feelings and admit that she has feelings for somebody. Han Solo. She has to kind of realize that it's not all about the cause and about the job at hand. Sometimes it's okay to just give in to your emotions and think about yourself for once and, you know, just be a normal person. I think that happens to a lot of people. A lot of people get so caught up in whatever cause they're fighting for, get so caught up in their job and their work that they forget, you know what, once in a while, put that aside and think about your own needs. Think about your own personal needs, and we all have those personal needs. That's why I think Han and Leia are such a perfect complement to each other, is that Han is all about himself and not about anyone else or any great cause, but he learns to fight for other people and learns about that cause. Sometimes you gotta stop thinking about yourself so much. Leia's the complete opposite. She's all about the cause and all about the job, and all about everyone else, but she learns, you know, to think about herself once in a while, and that's why those two meet in the middle, and they're the perfect couple. Okay. Now, and also I think that's why some people were a little disappointed in Han Solo in The Force Awakens, because again, kind of like Luke Skywalker, it seems like he just kind of forgot about his whole journey from learning to stop thinking about himself so much and learn to think about other people. You know, and he's the kind of guy that would go back and save Han, and he loves Leia, and now you look at Force Awakens, he kind of just gives that all up and just goes back to being a smuggler. Yeah, I think that's why some people were pretty disappointed in The Force Awakens, at least when it came to Han. Okay. And of course, I think a lot of people are disappointed in Leia. They're not disappointed in Leia, but they're disappointed in the fact that Leia doesn't really do much in the sequel series, unfortunately. Anyway, besides the point. Okay. Now we look at Lando. Now, Lando, let's just be honest, he's just cool and sexy. Listen, he's smooth. Kind of like Han Solo. He's very much into himself. He's very much into, you know, what's best for him. You know, he's very smooth. He's very suave. He knows all the right things. He's very confident. Again, maybe some of us are very much like him, but deep down we all want to be him, nonetheless. But also think about this. You know, he does betray Han and everybody, and that really eats at him, and he feels horrible, and eventually he has to redeem himself. He actually has a little bit of a small journey in Empire Strikes Back. It's not all just about Luke trying to, you know, confront, you know, the man who he thinks killed his father and his mentor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then discovers, oh, that's actually my dad. You know, even Lando has a little mini story in there. And again, I think the reason why we all relate to him is, you know, we all want to be cool like him, but also we learn that, we all I think at some point we've all hurt someone that we cared about. We've all hurt someone where we felt like we betrayed someone, we let somebody down. We all know what that feels like, and we all felt the need that we have to redeem ourselves in that person's eyes. And sometimes we may not get a second chance, or maybe they don't trust us at first, but we really gotta put in the effort to redeem ourselves and, you know, help that friend out that we felt like we betrayed or left behind or felt like we disappointed. So again, I think that's why a lot of people like Lando. And going back to Princess Leia, another thing about her being the damsel in distress is that I think one thing that a lot of us don't want to admit is sometimes we need to be saved. Leia, you know, she takes charge of her own rescue, but even still, she kind of has to admit that, yeah, she kind of needed to be saved, and she does appreciate being saved. I mean, she and Han, you know, fight a lot and all that. She tries to take charge, but she gives Luke a kiss right before they do the whole swing thing. So even still, she kind of acknowledges, like, you know, thanks for saving me. She, of course, does the kiss of luck, you know, good luck and all that. So, again, something that a lot of us don't ever want to admit, but sometimes we do need to be saved by other people, and we should be appreciative of that, even if the effort is not a great effort. But anyway, okay, so now let's get down to Darth Vader. Okay, before that, hold on a second. I gotta get a little refresher. Delicious. Okay. Darth Vader. Okay. First of all, he's a badass. Let's just be honest. He's just cool. He's a badass. All right. We got that out of the way. Let's establish that. But I think he's somebody that I don't think we necessarily all want to be Darth Vader, but deep down, I think we all have a Vader side to us because we've all, and I'll bring in Anakin Skywalker in general into this one, but I think we've all at some point have become obsessed with power, or at least in self-empowerment. Vader is completely seduced by the dark side. He just loves the power. He can do whatever he wants. He gets what he wants. Whatever he wants, he gets it done. Doesn't have to apologize, doesn't have to explain to himself. He's all powerful. He's the biggest badass in the room. And deep down, I think we all want that, or maybe some of us are like that, but we all enjoy a little self-empowerment once in a while. And maybe we let it get the best of us, because Anakin is seduced to the dark side because, again, he cares about, he lost his mother, he wants to protect his wife, Padme, and his children. And I think we all want to. Again, I think sometimes we are driven by that desire to not only feel powerful, but to protect the people that we love, but maybe we go too far, and then we can't let go of it. Because, if you remember Return of the Jedi, Vader even says to Luke, "It's too late for me, son. You don't know the power of the dark side." I think deep down at some point we probably all have experienced that, where maybe we let our emotions get the best of us, we go down a dark path, we just can't let go anymore, we feel like it's too late for us. We're too obsessed. We have these bad habits or a bad routine that just gives us such empowerment, or maybe we have some sort of addiction that we can't give up, and it just consumes us. And we have that that heartbreaking conversation with someone that we love. And we say it's too late. This is who I am now. So I think we all kind of relate to that. But again, Vader does redeem himself. And he redeems himself when he finally realizes, what he has become and what he has dedicated his life to is hurting someone else. And he finally gives in and sort of, and then again, redeems himself. So I think that's something that we all can relate to deep down, even if we don't want to admit it. Okay, so moving on, going to Padme. I don't think Padme does a whole lot in the prequel series, to be honest with you, but she does have this very powerful scene, and I think in episode 3, when she, tells Anakin, "You're breaking my heart." And again, I think going back to Luke, she's someone, she's in a relationship, she's in a pretty abusive relationship. Not at first, but at the end, it becomes a little abusive. She's strangled pretty much to death, almost to death. But, how many people do you know are stuck in a relationship, or maybe yourself, have been stuck in a relationship that is abusive, and you love the person, and you want to do everything for that person, but they're just breaking your heart when you see them go down this dark path, and they're hurting you, and you try your hardest to make an excuse for them, or try to help them, and it just ends up hurting you in the end. I think a lot of people can relate to that, even if they don't want to admit it out loud, or someone like that. It's, abusive relationships, let's be honest, are more common than we like to admit. So I think Padme, even though she doesn't do a whole lot in the first 2 films, but by that 3rd film and then that powerful scene at the very end on planet of Mustafar, yeah, I think that she speaks volumes. What she goes through speaks volumes to a lot of people. So, okay, then we'll get to actually forgot Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, let's do Obi-Wan. All right. Now Obi-Wan's the mentor. Okay, he starts off as a mentor, and for the most part, he is a mentor pretty much through 2 different series. He's a mentor to Luke and to Anakin. So maybe a few of us can relate to the mentor role. But one thing you have to remember, if you go back to A New Hope, before the big reveal of who Darth Vader truly is, he's on a mission of redemption. Again, we're initially told that Darth Vader was Obi-Wan's student, and he killed Anakin, who was his friend, and also a student. So when you think about it, Kenobi's on a mission of redemption and revenge. You won't call it revenge because, Jedi don't do revenge, but it is, or you could call it justice in that sense, but it is redemption. He's there to redeem himself. He's there to correct a wrong. He's there to kill his old pupil who killed his other pupil and friend Anakin Skywalker. And even when the big reveal comes and we realize that Vader is actually Anakin, it's still redemption. He's getting Luke to do it, to sort of redeem his soul. Because Obi-Wan, in a sense, is he's not necessarily responsible for Anakin's turn to the dark side, but it was his responsibility to look after Anakin and train him to become a Jedi, and he failed at that. So this is a journey of redemption. I think people can relate, and again, I think people can relate to that. Because again, I think we've all been there where we screwed up on something or we failed at something, and now we have to do something to fix that wrong. And if we can't do it, maybe we'll get someone to do it for us, or ask someone to do it for us because we can't do it alone. So again, I think that's one reason why we can relate to Obi-Wan Kenobi. All right, now let's get to the sequel series. This is where, and I know this is going to be controversial, and I'm not trying to demonize the sequel series. I'm not trying to criticize people who like it, but I think with the sequel series, the characters are not as easy to relate to. That's just my opinion. I'm going to explain why. Okay, with Poe Dameron, in the first movie, Force Awakens, he doesn't do a whole lot, really. There's not much to a character to him. No offense to him. But by The Last Jedi, okay, now he got a little bit of a story. Now, his whole journey, I guess, if you want to call it that, is he has to learn to not be such a hotshot pilot. I mean, we all want to be like Poe. We're cool. We fly a cool ship. We do what we want. We blow shit up. Pardon my language. We take action and get what we want. Okay. I think we can all appreciate that. We all kind of relate that. And he is a funny character because he talks trash to Imperial generals and all that. But then, of course, he has his journey where basically he has to deal with his superior who tells him to just be quiet and get in line. Well, again, I already previously talked about Poe's journey and why I don't think his journey works in another video, so feel free to watch that. But I think we can all relate to the idea of having a boss we don't like. And I know we have this debate about who was right. Was it Poe was right? Was Admiral Holdo was she right? But let's be honest here. I think we can all relate to the idea of having a boss we don't like, who tells us to shut up, get in line, do what you're told. We all relate to that. And again, I don't want to get too much into this because I'm gonna start repeating myself from my previous video. So I'm gonna move on from this one. But again, we've all wanted to say something to our boss, and we're told to shut up and get in line. And I think that's what makes Poe somewhat likable. But again, I don't think he has much of a journey so far in these two films. So we're going to move on. Finn. Now, Finn actually has a bit of a journey in The Force Awakens. I mean, he kind of starts off as a coward, just wants to run away and get away from everything, just run away from his problems, and then he gets pulled back into it because he cares about Rey so much. And it seemed like he kind of had a crush on her a little bit. And I think deep down we all can relate to that because, listen, whether we've made mistakes or we're just surrounded by problems, sometimes we just want to run away. Say, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I just want to. It's too overwhelming. I want no part of this anymore. I think we've all felt that, whether it be work, relationships, family. We've all been there. But eventually, at one point, we have to realize, no, you can't run away forever. You gotta stop thinking about yourself. Again, he kind of shares that with Han Solo, but Han Solo's more arrogant and more of an individual, and he's, more about doing things his own way, and Finn's all about it being a coward, but like Han, he comes back and he realizes it's not all about you. There's a greater cause you have to fight for. So, and also Finn dragged Rey into this and he didn't mean to, so he does have a responsibility for her. So I guess Finn is likable in that sense that he knows, and of course if you look at The Last Jedi, he eventually at first wants to go out and fight Rey. He's so dedicated to her, and I think because he's in love with her. I don't know if they're going to go down that path, but I do think there's a sense of love and compassion at least, and I think it's why he's so likable. We all relate to that fear of just wanting to just get away, but then realizing, no, we can't abandon people we care about. And especially if we drag them into our world. Okay, let's get to Rose Tico. I know this is a controversial character, but Rose Tico started off as a likable character because she's kind of bumbly and kind of goofy, kind of nerdy, kind of socially awkward, which I think a lot of people are like. We don't want to admit it, but we all kind of are like that in a way. And she has this mission of revenge because she's lost someone that she loved, her sister, and she grew up in captivity and slavery. So I think she starts off likable, and I think that eventually she gets a little too corny at the end. And then, again, I addressed this in a previous video, but I think that deep down everybody can kind of relate to Rose Tico a little bit. She starts off as a very likable and relatable character, and then I think it kind of falls apart towards the end of The Last Jedi. Okay. And also, I think a lot of people relate to her because she makes this sort of political statement and act when she picks up the animal, when she rides the animal and crashes through that whole casino. I think a lot of people relate to that because a lot of people want to make a social political statement. That's a little bit more metaphorical and all that. Again, I addressed that in a previous video, so we'll just watch that and my thoughts on that. But anyway, then we get to Rey. Okay, Rey is an extremely likable character, but I think she might be too likable in the sense that she's kind of like Superman. You look at, and I addressed this actually, I think, in another video, where Superman is extremely likable because he fights for the great cause. He has no flaws. He's perfect, and he does all the right things for the right reasons. But he's just not relatable, because that's just so unrealistic. I mean, it's admirable. We can admire somebody like that. We all wish we could, live up to that standard. We all want to be that perfect, but that's just not relatable because it's so unrealistic. And I know we're talking about Star Wars, but, so even though the story, the settings can be unrealistic, the characters can't be. Even if they have magical powers, the emotional connection needs to be as realistic as possible, because that's the only way you can enjoy really a story is that you have to relate to the characters somehow. With Rey, she's incredibly likable because she's a good person. She does the right things. And again, kind of like Luke, she lives this boring, mundane, meaningless, routine life and all that. She's waiting for something to come along. We can all relate to that. She starts off very relatable, but then she has no flaws. She has no weaknesses. You know, Luke had to learn to have trust in himself and faith in himself. He had to learn. He was originally driven by the revenge of his father and the death of his mentor Obi-Wan, and then it was about redeeming his father and saving someone that he loves and cares about, his dad. That's a journey, and we can relate to that. With Rey, what can you relate to? I mean, she wants to save Kylo. Why? There's nothing to save. There's no personal connection to the two. You know, he's a jerk and he's a creep. You know, it kind of makes Rey a little unlikable because she wants to save this guy for no reason. You know, it just feels like they're just kind of rehashing the plot from the original series, but with no real deeper meaning. And I think it's what makes Rey so difficult to relate to, is because she has no flaws. She really has no journey. I mean, she wants to know what her place is in all this. Okay, I guess we can all relate to that. What is our purpose in this world? Okay, we can kind of relate to that. But then we're told that it's nothing. There is no meaning. You're here by accident. Well, that just kind of destroys her entire journey. And then it just seems like, all right, well, then she's got no purpose here. She's whatever. But she's all powerful and all knowing and all perfect. It's like, well, there's nothing to relate to. I mean, she's likable. When we like her, sure, she's somebody you would love to meet and hang out with. But you can't relate to her because there's nothing to relate to. You know, she has no deeper meaning. She has no weaknesses, nothing to overcome. She just has this mystery. Who am I? What am I doing here? I mean, unless you actually have missing parents. I mean, some people don't know their biological parents, so they want to go out and find them. So I guess they can relate to that. And again, some people want to find their purpose in life and what their meaning is. So again, I guess you can relate to that aspect. But when the big reveal comes that it's nothing, her parents are nobodies, and she has no real connection to any of this, it's just meaningless, that's actually quite nihilistic. And that's not something people want to hear or see. There is no meaning. You're just here by accident. Everything's by accident. And she's all powerful and all perfect. I mean, no one can relate to that. You know, no one can. Luke had to train to become a Jedi. He had to struggle to become a Jedi. She has no struggle. It's just not an image. It's just not something that people can find really plausible. There's no connection to her because she has no real struggle. We can relate to Luke and all the other characters because they have struggle. You know, they have flaws, and they have to overcome those flaws, and we've all been there. She has none of that. That's why I think she's not very relatable. She's likable. Don't get me wrong. She is likable. You can like her, but I don't think you can relate to her. Anyway, those are just my opinions, so tell me what you think in the comments below. By all means, share, like, subscribe to this channel. Tell us what you think. Which character do you relate to the most? Which character do you like the most? Who's your favorite? Or if you think I'm just dead wrong about everything, hey, let me know. You know. Until then, may the Force be with you, and be cool, stay cool.
ตูจากอีสจากแองโกอยากออสการ์
Yes, I bet you have.